Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that are watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. And welcome those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world subsequently. I welcome Mother Lakshmi on the sixth day in a sixth form as Veera Lakshmi. Veera is to give you valor, courage and strength. Courage and strength in all the obstacles that will come your way. So this strength to overcome obstacles is personified by Veera Lakshmi, the sixth form of Mother Lakshmi. The sixth form of Mother Lakshmi. In this and within a personification of knowledge through herself as Saraswathi, we pursue this topic of oneness. And we have for the past many days elaborated comprehensively on the aspect or topic of oneness. And if you have not realized yet, we have created a new religion. We have created a new religion called oneness. This is a new religion and a new movement. New religion, new movement, but founded in old scriptures. New religion, new movement, founded in old scriptures. And this has been happening since time immemorial. In the Vedic years is the years when the Vedas were being enacted and participated in 5,000 years ago. This is called the Vedic years. In these years, people complied and lived within the parameters of the Vedas. And then, as is common with humans, and the Sri Narayan Dham have experienced it themselves as an institution, when living within Vedic injunctions become unbearable, then you disassociate yourself with Vedic injunctions. You disassociate yourself with Vedic injunction. It means you live for an X amount of time within the parameters of Vedic law, and when you do not relish this law anymore, then you leave this law and the institution and you go outside the domain of religious principles. When you are outside, then you will create your own principles to suit your mindset at a particular place and a particular time with a particular group of people. So what happened to the Vedic principles when people of their own accord left the Vedic principles? What happened to these principles? They became degenerated, and a distorted version was being practiced. A distorted version was being practiced to suit your human need. So the Vedas state that preferably we should not be eating. The Vedas state that preferably we should not be eating meat, but if you have a desire to eat meat, and when you come out of the parameters of this injunction, then what would you do? Vasudeva, what would you do? You would lie to yourself that it is a Vedic injunction to eat meat, then this false information you'll pass down to your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, Tivashni. If Vasudeva has great-grandchildren, that means you are already a grand. You understand, all of you? Then it will become a norm that meat eating is licensed in the Vedic religious principles. Mama, if you like having wine, which is prohibited in the Vedas, then what would you do, Mama? You'll gather up your nephew and tell him the Vedas prescribe wine. What you'll do, Mama? And you and your nephew will form your own group of people stating that the Vedas allow wine. And this is how the Vedas were degenerated. Then what happens when principal parameters are broken? What happens to humanity? Humanity and the core values of humans degenerates into a dimension of negativity, into a dimension of negativity, frustration. There'll be illness, there'll be fighting, there'll be intolerance. Will there be not? And can you see, although we are living in civilization today, the year 2020, it is no difference from the Vedic period that we have landed ourselves into, have we not? Recently, a human being was beheaded over the weekend over religious intolerance. There are cases now going to court because of religious intolerance. We are making mockery of God. If we take in religion to court, then what are we doing to the Supreme Lord? Aren't we making a mockery of him? Aren't we making a mockery of the Lord? Where are we today? In the same chaos, in the same confusion. Only thing now we can fight more vigorously because we're living in the age of information. We're living in the age of information. We can do everything faster. Yes? So I'm stating that we have started a new religion, and when I say new, in inverted commas, because this is what has happened to the original Vedas. The original Vedas. When the original Vedas were not being followed, and when the original Vedas got misinterpreted into polytheism. What does polytheism mean? What is that done? No. Many different gods. Polytheism. Many different gods. Because now, Mama, if you drink in wine, who will be your God? Mama, who's the God of wine? Who's the God of meat? Who's the God of gambling? Mama, you go to the casino, what you'll do at the entrance? Bow down. God of gambling at the casino. You understand? The rig cannot be disputed. Cannot be disputed to be the oldest knowledge, both in the form of knowledge and scripture. And scripture. And the Rig Veda does not prescribe polytheism. The Rig Veda prescribes monotheism. Monotheism means belief in one God. And Lord Srimad Narayan is indicated in the Narayana Suktas as the one supreme Lord. And the Rig Veda cannot be disputed in times of its age, so it will become the core scripture for humanity. Core scripture for humanity. So when people stopped following the Vedic injunctions, then depicted in the Rig Veda are various cosmic administrators. Depicted in the Rig Veda are various cosmic administrators. So it was easier to follow a cosmic administrator and call him God not within the parameters of his administration, function, but according to your whims and your likes. When this happened, what do you think happened to that civilization? You don't have to think too far back. That which you think is ancient, that status quo is prevailing today, is it not? Is it not? Most of you seated here for the very first time, you have understood that Navratri has 3 dimensions, haven't you? Only 1 dimension, isn't it? Is it not? Only in this Navratri you came to know that Navratri has 3 different dimensions. So how far are you from knowledge than the chaos that existed 5,000 years ago? Veera Lakshmi.
Very far.
No, you're not very far. No difference. The chaos is the same today. Otherwise you would have known Aishwarya. And Aishwarya was about to have a degree in spiritual science. Okay? Can you see that in terms of ignorance, we are in the same place? All of you, can you see in terms of ignorance, we are in the same place? And whenever there is ignorance, then God sends a reformer. You agree? Whenever there is ignorance, then God sends a reformer to realign the truth. To realign the truth. And a reformer must have power to change you from one understanding to another. Don't you think that should be the qualification of a reformer? To change you from one mindset to another. So this confusion gave rise to 2 different religions. The abuse of the Vedas initially gave rise to 2 different religions. Zoroastrianism and Buddhism. Zoroastrianism and Buddhism. And this happened a long time ago because there was chaos in the compliance of the regulative principles of the Vedas. And today, again I'm saying, at the Sri Narayan Dham, in the prevailing chaos of intolerance within religions, because I think there was a case where a Hindu took a Muslim to court, and in France, a Muslim beheaded a Christian. And in France, that Christian ridiculed the Prophet of Islam. So you can see, we took this topic just before these incidents started taking place, and we have created a new religion now called Oneness. I'm saying this so that you can understand the creation of Zoroastrianism. Can you understand? When the prevailing conditions could not be met by humans of that time, then Zoroaster had to take a group of people out of animalism because they were behaving like animals. They were killing animals, they were eating animals, and they were behaving like animals. So he couldn't present to them the actual Vedas. So he had to take parts and parcels of the Vedas and make a new community so that they would desist from animalism and polytheistic rituals. Polytheistic rituals. Like what I'm doing to you now. Aren't I doing the same thing to all of you here? How many of you are going and verifying all that I'm teaching you? How many of you? You are taking it for granted, Aishwarya,
Yes.
that whatever I'm teaching you is the absolute truth. So similarly, many thousands of years ago, this gave rise. When the current system goes haywire, then it is necessary to start a new system. A new system. Another thought, another dimension. So we are planting the seed of oneness, and I said in yesterday's discourse, for oneness to be experienced optimally, it is necessary to go to the core. It is necessary to go to the core. Because if all the core, and we said core means central. Core means central. And if we go back in religion, instead of creating a new religion, if we go back to the original, the fundamentals and the basics, and we look for our core, where God has already revealed to us, it is not necessary to create a new religion. Our oneness is merely a new understanding of the old religious principles. A new understanding of the old and bona fide religious principles. All of you understand? So I want to go to the core. And I don't want to make notes. I want to be a modern guru of the 21st century. Alright? So I'll do what Sita does. But let's see if I can do it faster than that. Okay, so for no specific or particular reason, I've been reading the Quran today. Alright? I've been reading the Quran. So I'm starting off from the Quran, and we want to know what Islam means. What Islam means. The root word Islam comes from the language Arabic. And in the religious context, it means to surrender to the will of God. Islam means to surrender to the will of God, and it comes from the root word salam. It comes from the root word salam. And what does salam mean? What does salam mean? What does salam mean? Sorry, Shyam.
You saw that on there, bro.
Yeah. Salam means peace. Salam means peace. So Islam, the root word for Islam comes from salam, and it means peace. And in the religious context, Islam means submission to the will of God. Sanatan Dharma means eternal relationship with God. So in Sanskrit, Sanatan Dharma means eternal relationship with God, which ultimately means submission to the will of God. In Arabic, Islam means Sanatan Dharma. In Sanskrit, Sanatan Dharma means Islam in Arabic. And you see the core. What is the core? Submission to the will of God. Both Sanatan Dharma and Islam, different language, same truth. Different language, same truth. So I just want to address. Yamita, if you come more often, I can do research in my discourse. Sita, I spoke too soon. Sita?
Yes.
I spoke too soon. Now I'm lost in my own phone. Amrita, at least your mother gets known in this great discourse of oneness. Who? Who? Shanti, because Shanti means, but then Amrita will say I'm contradicting because she never had a day of peace with the mom. Okay, mom is looking at you, Amrita, don't turn, don't. Okay? So Shanti means peace, and the Shanti mantras or the peace mantras is the opening mantras of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads is found in the Rig Vedas. So the very first known scripture, every introduction of every topic in the Upanishads is the peace mantras. Is the peace mantras. So I'm saying that when we are going into topic of oneness, it is not lip service, it is not in the periphery, and it is not for superficial reasons. We are going to unearth oneness from God's truth. From whose truth? From God's truth. From Allah's truth. From Narayan's truth. From Jehovah's truth. From Christ's truth. All of you understand? Because we're going to show that truth cannot be two. Truth cannot be two. Truth is one. But we have 400,000 levels of consciousness. And when we try and perceive the truth from these 400,000 dimensions, then we see this truth emotionally, because the mind is an instrument that measures emotion. All of you understand? Are there any questions? Any questions? I'm cutting the discourses short because Sita stays very, very far away. She stays the furthest from this ashram and she got a long journey to go. Alright? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Whilst in conclusion, I want to state to those that's going to interact to this discourse that I will not interact through technical reasons. I will not interact through technical reasons because I am discussing the core. I am discussing the core. So I won't be debating on the technical aspects of the various religious groupings. Not that I don't want to or I don't have capacity to, it will just waste my energy. Alright? So I'm only dealing with the core. I'm not dealing with the layers and layers that have been added onto the core. Like I've stated, if all of us are skinned, then our core is the same. And I'm dealing now in that fashion, stripping the layers and dealing with the core. But if there is a debate in the core, then I'm willing to take this debate on. But I'm not going to waste my time on technical issues. Jai Sriman Narayan.